This video shows you how to find the area of a circle. Now first I'm going to show you a visual that proves that the formula for finding the area of a circle works. So mathematicians a long time ago tried to work out how to find the area of a circle, so the space inside the circumference of the circle. And what they ended up doing was splitting the circle into even parts. You can see it's split up into eighths. And then they started to organise it in a rectangular formation. They then kept splitting the parts smaller and smaller again. So you can see this one, it's been halved and then halved again. So there's actually 32 parts here. And the smaller you make the parts, the more it becomes like a rectangle. Okay, so we can relate it to our formula for finding the area of a rectangle of length times width. But first, we want to look at what are the length and the width on this visual, the parts of a circle that have been rearranged. So let's have a look at that now. The width here, you can see, is the radius of the circle. Yes, this part up here at the moment is slightly bigger, but this one corresponds to the radius. Let's label that R for the radius. If you look at the length, you can see that the length on this side is all the red parts. So the red parts up here, on there, those edges are actually part of the circumference, and the red parts take up half of the circumference. So we know that the formula for finding the circumference or perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r. So half the circumference is going to just be equal to pi times r. Then the mathematicians applied the formula length times width to find the area of this rectangle, which is actually all the parts of the circle rearranged. So they did pi r times by r, and that left them with the formula for the area of a circle as pi r squared, or pi times by the radius again, or pi times by the radius squared. Let's now look at applying that formula into a couple of different examples. We know that the formula for the area of a circle is now pi r squared, pi times the radius times by the radius again. So we need to find the radius of the circle we're looking for. In this one, you can see that the radius of this circle is 10 meters. So all we need to do is substitute that 10 meters into this area formula. So it's going to be equal to pi times by 10 squared. All that really means pi times by 10 times by 10. I know that 10 times 10 is equal to 100, or 10 squared is equal to 100. Again, we can round pi off to 3.14 and do 3.14 times by 100. And then I know that the area of this circle then, 3.14 times by 100, is going to be equal to 314 meters squared, or the best way to say that is 314 square meters. Remembering that area is the space inside the shape, so that is meters squared. Again, we know the formula for the area of this circle will again be pi r squared. So first we need to find the radius. We've been given the diameter, the distance across the circle going through the center. So to find the radius, we need to half that. So the radius of this circle is 7.5 centimeters, 7.5 centimeters. Then we can put that 7.5 centimeters into the formula to find the area of this circle. So the area is going to be equal to pi times by 7.5 squared. Or you can think of that as pi times 7.5 times 7.5 again. We also know that pi is equal to 3.14 approximately. So it's going to be 3.14 times by 7.5 times by 7.5, or 3.14 times by 7.5 squared. You can see here that there are a lot of decimal multiplications with this one. So again, quite appropriate to use a calculator. 3.14 times by 7.5 times by 7.5 gives us an answer of 176.625. I'm happy for you to here round numbers to a maximum of 2 decimal places. So if we're going to round this one to 2 decimal places, knowing it's centimetres, that is going to be equal to 176.63 square centimetres, or centimetres squared as it looks. Okay, quite happy for you to leave your answer like this, but you might find in using some of the answers that you'll solve in finding the area or maybe circumference of a circle, you might get some longer decimals. So it can be appropriate to round them to 1 or, as best, sometimes 2 decimal places, depending on maybe the unit of measurement and thinking of using meters, centimeters, or millimeters and how small that measurement might be. Remember, the formula for finding the area of a circle is pi r squared, or pi times by the radius again. Also remember that area is a measurement of space inside a 2D object. So we're using a square unit. So square centimeters, square millimeters, square meters, or possibly sometimes even square kilometers.